Okay, so I've been told to introduce myself, so I'll just say a few things. So I used to be part of London Wonder Centre many years ago. I was very fortunate to be involved in many services. I definitely wasn't qualified, but as they are, they like to throw you in the deep end and then let you grow from there. So I helped out with the trip team. I was the president of the Brunel KC and then I was involved in various other services and projects, and then I married and moved to Birmingham to the lovely Devi and Dasi, and I do not regret it. When I moved here, I was involved. I was very passionate about university preaching and helping grow the youth movement. So I continued to help with Birmingham, Aston, and Coventry KC and was involved with the whole Gita as well for the committees. I'm currently trying to study Srimad Bhagavatam and go a lot deeper into the philosophy that we've got and into the scriptures. And also there's quite a lot of people in Birmingham currently doing Bhakti Shastri, so I'm just trying to help support them and assist with that. So that's just a little something of what I do, just to give you some idea. But most importantly, I have 2 children and a husband, so I just thought I'd add that in there also. So I'd like to welcome you all today to give me this opportunity to speak on this topic. I'm actually really honoured to be here with you all. It's taken a lot of hard work for Neha and Vrindavani to get me here to do this talk, because I'm quite shy with speaking, so please forgive me if there is any mishaps in between. But you know, I'm proud of their determination, so thank you very much to Neha and Vrindavani for having me here today. So I want to start off actually by saying a huge thanks to everybody who's joined the call today, and those who are not able to join also, because I'm hearing wonderful things about all the amazing services that you're all doing. And it's so wonderful. Prabhupada is probably so pleased as well, because he was very touched by the actions that the youth performed for the movement, because we're the real doers. We've got the strength, we've got the energy, we've also got time as well to be able to do it. And actually we're really all very fortunate to be part of this movement, because there's so many unlimited entities in the universe, but very few of them are get to the stage where they're able to take to this practice of devotional service. And there's even like demigods in the high planets at the moment that are wanting to take birth on Earth at the moment in order to be part of Lord Chaitanya's movement. So I just wanted to say, extend my huge thanks to you all for recognizing this and understanding this, and also joining in and participating in the services for Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. So well done to you all. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. I hope you can see the slides. Can you see the slides? Yeah, okay. So today we're going to be talking about internal conflict. Right, so there's 3 aspects to the process that we're following in the moment, following in Krishna consciousness. So they are to understand our relationship as a servant of the Supreme Lord. So this is known as Sambandha Gyan, to have knowledge of what our actual relationship is with the Supreme Lord. It's also, once we know and understand our relationship as a servant of the Lord, it's important for us to act according to that relationship through loving devotional service to the Lord. So this is called Abhidheya. I'm sure you are all familiar with these terms already. And then our ultimate goal is to attain love of Godhead, and that is Prayojan. So now we understand all these different things that are there, and it's important for us to look at where we are in our services and to see where we fit into these 3 things. Are we able to practice all 3? Are they all intertwined, or are we stuck on one certain point and would like to go further so that the ultimate goal is achieved? And we all know that the ultimate goal is love of Godhead, right? So who doesn't want that hug with the Supreme Lord? So this is Gopa Kumar, who's being welcomed back to the Vaikuntha, to Goloka Vrindavan by Krishna, and a big, getting a big hug from him. You can just imagine that nice warm hug that you'll be getting from Krishna. So in order to ensure that we actually get there in the end, to Goloka Vrindavan, we need to make sure we review regularly to see what we're doing, right? We may start off doing services with great enthusiasm. We may do them for, like, we may be motivated by so many different things. And we may start off originally with wanting to serve the Supreme Lord so that we can be reunited with him. So, but along the way, sometimes we can get a bit lost, right? So it's important that we regularly look at our why, right? And we look at our intent. So what is the why, right? Well, whatever we do, we should do with knowledge, and we should understand, okay, so why, if you just ask yourselves, not a discussion to have with anybody else, but just to ask yourself, what is the real reason I'm involved in service? What am I hoping to achieve out of it? And what am I gaining spiritually, and, you know, spiritually and other things along the way, right? So, and what is our mood, right? Who are we doing it for? Are we doing it because our friends are doing it? Are we doing it because it's something we enjoy very much? Are we doing it because it might be something good for us to write down on our CV, or something that we perform? Or are we genuinely doing it in order to please Srila Prabhupada and please Lord Krishna? So these are things that we go through regularly. I've been in the movement for quite a few years, and sometimes I find myself becoming very distracted. I might start off by doing something for a certain reason, having a real sincere and genuine desire to serve the Lord, but sometimes other stuff can creep in between, and we can lose the actual purpose of what it is we're doing. So if we're not sure as to who we're doing it for, it's important that you assess it. You assess it and you think, am I doing it actually for devotional purposes, or am I doing it on a mental or sentimental platform? All right, so I'm going to give you just a few minutes, maybe just a minute or two, just to have a think about your service that you're doing, and just think about what your why is, right? What your why is currently. You might have had some other reason why you started it, but what your why is currently for doing that service, and what your intention is in terms of what your mood is. So I'll just give you a moment to think about that and just reflect on yourself. Okay, so now what does Srila Prabhupada say what our you know, how service should be done? Okay. So Srila Prabhupada says that religion without philosophy is sentiment, or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So you may have heard this a few times. Let's see what does this mean? Okay, so religion without philosophy. So what is religion, right? So religion can be defined as a pursuit. So I googled this. So this is like the dictionary that says what religion is. So religion can be defined as a pursuit or interest that is followed with great dedication. So it's like doing something with a lot of dedication. So that could be anything that we do in our life. It could be our work, or, you know, things in the house, our relationships, could be anything. So if we do something with a lot of dedication, but we do it without philosophy, what is philosophy? So philosophy is without philosophy is without knowledge and understanding of the purpose of what you're doing, right? So religion, your action that you're doing with dedication, should be done with knowledge and understanding of why you're doing it. So if you've got the religion but you haven't got the philosophy, or you've got the philosophy and you haven't got the religion, it just ends up with either sentiment or mental speculation. So when these are aligned, so when these two are aligned, your religious intent and the philosophical intent are aligned, what we do, we actually please Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. And this actually gives our heart and soul a lot of nourishment and a lot of strength to continue in these projects and services that you may be doing. Why is this nourishment important, and where does it come from? Okay, so why is it important? Why is it important that we are doing it for the right intent? Because if we're not doing it for the right intent, that nourishment doesn't actually reach us, because it's not food for the soul. It's just something an action that we're performing. We have to act. And because we have to act, we may just do anything because, you know, it's something that you have to do with yourself. Just a moment. Sorry, my daughter just keeps wanting to run in. So, okay. Now, what happens to an undernourished tree? So, like, for example, let's see our service or, a project that we're doing, and let's see it in light of that. What is an undernourished tree? So, when you don't have strong roots, a gust of wind may come and blow that tree down, right? So imagine in your garden, you've just got a tree and it's a new tree and the roots you just planted it and the roots haven't actually gone deep into the soil. So what happens, someone could criticize your hard work of a project. It may not even be appreciated. So very easily we may become flawed, right? So that tree will blow and it will fall down, right? So that will it may, push you back a little bit, or it may discourage you in your devotional service or the service that you're performing. In the same way, like any enthusiasm and determination we may have may eventually wane away, it may go away. And in that case, what would happen to a tree? If it wasn't continuing to try and stand and try and build its roots, it would eventually dry out. The leaves wouldn't grow and the soil, the fruits won't grow. And without that, we can't maintain something for a very long time without any nourishment. So what is a nourished tree, then you might ask, right? So this is a nourished tree. Here we can see this tree. It's got some really lovely, beautiful green leaves. It's got really juicy fruits, like juicy apples, red ones and green ones, and the roots run deep, okay? So what causes a nourished tree? Okay, so the roots are chanting and knowledge, right? Through chanting, through associating with the Lord on a daily basis, it gives us real depth, right? So there's examples that are given as well that when you chant, it's like charging up the soul, right? So when you have your phone and you don't charge it, what happens? Eventually the battery dies. It can't perform the activities that you need it to do, right? Your phone is important. You need to make phone calls. You need to go on your WhatsApp. You need to stay updated with what's going on. So if you don't charge your phone every day, and how can you use it? So in the same way, chanting is like plugging in your soul into the socket, to the source, in order to give you the nourishment and you need in order to charge you up, to get you through the day, to perform all the actions that you need to perform in whatever capacity, as daughters, as wives, as employees, as in whatever that you do in the day. And knowledge gives you strength as well, because it gives you real depth of philosophy and understanding of what is the purpose, why am I here, what am I doing this for. So these two together give us the opportunity to develop deep roots. Okay, the trunk is our relationship with the devotees, right? So we have strong relationships with the devotees through our services. However, what still holds up the trunk is the roots, right? So the chanting and the knowledge help our relationships with the devotees, because at times we can see devotees even on a mental platform. We can just see, they didn't say Haribol to me, they didn't speak to me in this way, or they ignored me, they seemed really spaced out today, they weren't happy to see me. These things go deep into our heart when really it could be their own issue, something that they're going through at that time. But when you're chanting and you're doing things with knowledge, you're actually on a spiritual transcendental platform, and therefore your relationships run deeper as well. And therefore you don't see your relationships on face value, you see them on a much deeper and sincere level, right? So then you've got your fruits, right? So these fruits could be twofold, right? It depends on your intention of doing the service, right? Are you doing the service to just be with your friends, to just, it seems like an exciting project, it's something that you enjoy doing, you've got the skills for it, let's do it. In that case, if the consciousness or the intent is not in the mood of service to Prabhupada or the Supreme Lord, then that is just generating karma, right? So these fruits that you can see on the tree are fruits of karma, right? So we know that as devotees, we're trying to avoid any sort of karma, good karma or bad karma. What we want to practice is our karma, so devotional service whereby any action we perform doesn't actually bind us further to the material world, but in fact we do services that helps take us out of the material world. However, if you're doing the service or working on certain things with the intention of serving the Lord, then these are like fruits of devotion, right? So these are fruits that you can share plentiful with your friends, with your associates, and with the fruits that the Lord is getting pleased with as well. And it's like you're offering to the Lord. So we have a choice of what type of fruits we're growing. Are we growing karmic fruits? Or are we growing fruits in order to connect with the Lord? Right, so any sort of devotional service we do is beneficial. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that we don't lose any sort of devotional service, right? So service that's done in the mood of serving the Lord is considered beneficial, right? And Krishna accepts the love in which it's done. Where does this love come from? This love that you do it with comes from the knowledge and the conscious mood that you have and the conscious intention that you have while you're doing the service, right? This then feeds the soul, which gives you pleasure and the empowerment to actually perform amazing things, right? So you may think, oh, I'm going to try and do this project because I need to be pushed outside my comfort zone. I need to do this service to be pushed outside my comfort zone. But sometimes we may burn out because we may not have the qualities or the right ingredients in able to do what we want. However, if you're giving pleasure to the Lord, then immediately some empowerment comes to do amazing things. And how do we know that? Because Krishna himself tells us in the Bhagavad Gita. And he also says that the service that we perform is everlasting. So there's no loss in any service that we've done. It's only a gain, a spiritual gain, not a karmic gain. And it is joyfully performed. Meaning it gives pleasure to the heart and to the soul. And he says, how can we remain determined in the service? Krishna says, whatever action you perform, you do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering for me. So when we're doing that service as an offering to the Lord, he then gives us the ability, he carries what we lack in that project and he preserves what we have, right? So therefore you can do these services with the most amazing amount of knowledge and the amazing amount of empowerment. And if you look at the history of ISKCON, we have so many people, actually really small, humble beings that if you look at them before their devotional life, they were achieving very minimal amount of things. But soon taken to Krishna consciousness, engaging properly in the process, they were able to achieve outstanding worldwide things, right? And where did this power come from? It came from the Lord, because the Lord carries what we lack, right? We have so many lackings, we have so many wonderful qualities, but if we look deep down inside, we can tell that there's some sort of lackings that we might have, or things that are holding us back. So Krishna personally carries what we lack, and he preserves what we have, means that we don't lose anything. He keeps it all intact. So then the next question is, okay, how can we go deeper, right? In which way can we go deeper? We have the desire to go deeper, but how can we? So now, before I go on to discussing this, one thing I want you to think about is, how can you go deeper, right? That's you, yourself, not your friends, not your family, not your neighbor, not your others in your circle, right? Everyone is on a different journey, right? So it's about you working out, where am I at? What am I holding back? And what can I do more, right? So it doesn't mean like taking on loads of stuff. Going deeper means, right, going deeper means to attain knowledge. But before you do that, you need to assess, where am I at? And how can I go that little bit more deeper, right? Am I charting one round? Maybe I can do 2. I can try and do 2 every day. It doesn't matter if your friend is doing 15, 16 or doing 1 million rounds a day. You do, according to your circumstances, that little bit more deeper, because everyone is on their own journey and everyone is flying their own plane. You're just there to support each other. So how can we go deeper? So we always talk about the tip of the iceberg, right? What does the tip of the iceberg mean? It means you can see this tip at the top, right? And that tip may be like a service that you're doing, or a bit of knowledge that you have. And by just seeing the top of it, we know that it's not just that, there's actually more. This is just a bit that's sticking out, that's visible. But if we go under the water, we can see that there's this huge glacier underneath, right? So we can see the tip of the iceberg, but actually there's real depth to that tip, which is actually holding that tip up. It's not just floating on the surface, right? There's a big glacier underneath. So in the same way, the knowledge of the scriptures can help us go deeper. And it's not always visible. When you see other devotees, when you see somebody in action, you're not always aware of what knowledge that they have that allows them to have the depth that they've got, right? So that's what we have here, right? So now let's think about, what are your internal conflicts, right? What is it in your mind and what in your heart that may stop you from going that little bit deeper, right? So we know spiritual life is a journey, right? It's not a stagnant place that we're in a certain place and we're just going to stay here, right? It's called a movement, right? Why is it called a movement? It's because we're constantly moving forward, right? So we don't want to be stagnant. We want to move forward. Not necessarily moving forward very quickly, but we're moving forward and we're going deep in that movement and really connecting with the Lord, right? So I want you all to think about what your internal conflicts are, right? It might be your personal circumstances at home. It might be your own self-belief. It could be a million things, right? So I want you to think about what your internal conflicts are. And I was going to encourage you to share in the chat. But before we do that, I was just going to make the chat private so that the chat only comes to me. I think I need to be the host for this, so I don't know. I know I'm co-host at the moment, so I don't know if this is going to work. So
let me make you host, and then you can put it. You can change it.
Because I know as ladies we can be quite shy about being open. So I just thought if they come to me, and I won't mention your names either, but it'll be a good idea for you to share what your internal conflicts are, because it may not be something we're talking about openly with each other. But it being said out here, then other people can be like, yeah, I'm not the only one who's in this boat who might have this internal conflict. Okay, so you should be able to say send your chat directly to me. So I'd like you in the chat to write down what are your internal conflicts. What conflicts do you want to are you going through, and what would you please share them. So I'll read them out, but I won't read your names. Okay, so what have we got here? I don't want to do any services, but I'm feeling forced to. I'm not satisfied with my appearance. Moving on from the past and letting go. Not feeling confident and sometimes lacking faith. Very nice. Thank you for sharing these. Practicing what I preach. Low self-esteem. Not feeling good enough that others are doing better than me. Okay. Your weight could be a problem. You could be having family problems. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing these and opening up. Okay. Sometimes low confidence and low self-esteem could be your internal conflict, which is stopping you from going deeper. Not feeling like, they're coming quite quick. Not feeling like I know the philosophy and you have to practice it, and how to practice it in service. Okay. Being consistent in your own practices. Yeah. Feeling self-centered often. Feeling like having to compete with my friends for service. Okay. Outward perception to non-devotees and being perceived as super religious, not good with the world. That's a common one. It's like we want to go deeper in our spiritual life, but then we feel like we won't fit in with those around us. Your own mind. Okay. My friends are doing way more. Am I just a bad devotee? Okay. Lack of confidence in performing services. Stress in some way, like putting too much pressure on yourself to please everyone. Okay. Comparing yourself to others in spiritual life. Not feeling like I'm fully aligned in my values and behavior. Your parents are not 100% supportive. Okay. Not having friends and association, so not confident. Okay. Obsessing over my relationship and overthinking, feeling left out. Don't think I'll ever reach the stage of steadiness. Okay. Not being confident, which can stop you from being able to perform service to the best of your abilities. Being judged by non-devotee friends. Okay. So thank you so much for opening up. You can carry on writing them in the chat if you want, and then I'll have to take a look at them later on. So I really appreciate you all opening up and actually sharing what your personal internal conflict might be that's actually stopping you from going deeper into your spiritual life. Okay. Now, I'm not an expert in dealing with these conflicts directly. Like, they're all very unique. The conflicts that you have are very unique to yourself and to your personal circumstances. So I'm going to do an overview of what you can try and do to apply in order to work on these internal conflicts, right? Because there could be a variety of reasons why you're having these internal conflicts. So I hope this applies to all of you. If not, please, you can leave it in the chat towards the end, and maybe we can address them as questions directly with you. Direct them. So how do we resolve these internal conflicts, right? It could be our personal circumstances, it could be our internal feelings, it could be our friends and family, so many different things that we could be feeling that is actually stopping us from going deeper into our spiritual life and reaping the benefits from being part of this very, like I said in the beginning, it's a very, very unique thing that we're doing here. It's like Prabhupada compared it to diamonds. He said, like, we've got so many people in the world that may have been born in a so-called Hindu family. Why are they not taken to this process of Krishna consciousness? Why is it that it's so rare? So Prabhupada said, what we're distributing is diamond and not glass. So what we're distributing is not something very cheap. It's something very, very rare and very, very difficult to come into terms with. The fact that we're even here in this movement means that we've taken birth lifetime after lifetime to be in a position where we've got access to devotional service. Devotional service doesn't come very easy at all. So we want to try and resolve these internal conflicts, try to come to terms with them and develop, work higher than this in order so that we can really achieve the benefit of being where we are in our spiritual life and really fly in our, and go deep. Okay. So how do we resolve these internal conflicts? Okay. So Albert Einstein states that no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. Okay. Sorry, my alarm's going. Okay, so let's repeat that. Right. So really try to understand what's being said here. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. Okay. So what he's saying, that we cannot solve the problem at the point of where that problem is being created from. Okay. So our consciousness is coming from, so the point that anyway, I won't try to explain it too much here. So you can read that again. So no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So how do we get on a different consciousness to resolve these conflicts? Okay. So as Einstein says, and what we've heard from many, many great acharyas, it says we have to go to higher resources, right? So we know in the Bhagavad Gita that we've got the mind, right? What's higher than the mind? The intelligence. What's higher than the intelligence is the soul, right? And what is the soul, right? The soul is Sat Chitanam, right? It is full of eternality, it's full of knowledge, and it's full of the truth, right? So these are things that so we've got the mind, right? So our internal conflicts are based on the level of the mind, right? And then there's our intelligence. And this intelligence doesn't mean the normal material intelligence that we have for material education. It's talking about spiritual intelligence, right? I'm not sure how many of you may be involved in sanghas and things like that. We're currently learning from chapter 3 in the Srimad Bhagavatam that actually the mind is born of the false ego. So when the world is being created, actually, the mind starts off at a level, is created from a tinge of false ego, and then you've got the mind. So in order to get higher than that, you need something that's transcendental, which is not bound by anything material at all. So we have to go to higher resources, right? Why? Why do we have to go to higher resources? So Srimad Bhagavatam and the Nectar of Instruction and a variety of other scriptures, it tells us that all humans have 4 imperfections, right? So we've got imperfect senses. So this is one thing that's come up in the chat as well. It's like people feel like they're not good enough, or they don't have the right skills, or they're not able. So we've got imperfect senses. So just to tell you all that you're human, right? The scriptures are telling you that as a human, we're all born with 4 imperfections. There is no one who is free from that other than those who are on the transcendental platform, right? So we've got imperfect senses, and then we use these senses in life, which makes us illuded, right? So we come under illusion, right? We don't have any control over that, of the illusion that we undergo, right? Just me and my daughter the other day, like last week, when it was really thundery and stormy, there was a rainbow in the sky, And I've done science and everything, and I was really questioning. I was like, yeah, I understand how water refracts and you get this rainbow, but I didn't actually realize that it was just an optical illusion, right? That rainbow is not really there, right? It's just an illusion, right? It's just our eyes seem to perceive that there's a rainbow in the sky when it's just actually light that's being broken through by the sun, right? It's being refracted anyway, however the science works. So we are prone to illusion, right? And because we have imperfect senses and we're illuded, we make mistakes, right? So it's natural to make mistakes. So when we're doing these services, we may make mistakes. We may not feel like we're good enough in what we're doing it, but it's not our fault because we're on a human platform. But that doesn't mean there's no solution to it. So we'll come to the solution shortly, right? And because we make mistakes, we cheat and we get cheated by others, okay? So in conclusion, we cannot trust our own mind because, you know, it's like when we go out and there's a huge fog, right? You walk out your front door, there's a fog, right? Can you even see the house across the street? You can't because it's clouding you, right? So this is our own mind, okay? So what can we do, right? It's important for us to see through a transcendental perspective, okay? That transcendental perspective actually helps us to see things clearer, okay? So okay, so this is called Shastra Chakshush, right? So Shastra means scripture and Chakshush means eyes. So we try to, in life, we try to see through the eyes of the scripture. How? We'll get onto that also. Okay, so Nectar of Devotion, verse 21 says, Shastra Chakshu means one who sees through the eyes of the authorized scriptures. Actually, any person of knowledge and experience should see everything through these books. Okay, what does this mean and how is it possible? Okay, so how is this possible? What does it mean, right? So Shastra Chakshu means in order to understand gradually through the different teachings and practical application of what we've read. A practical application means you read something and you apply it into your life, right? It'll help you greatly in different life events, in different circumstances, and it will show you things in a different light, right? So you might see something in a certain way when you're not reading scripture, but when you read scripture, you'll see that same thing in an illuminated way, in a way that which is applicable to you, which is important in your life. And you can even deal with your own feelings, to be honest with you, and unwanted thoughts in an effective way. So it actually takes the material element of suffering out of your life by studying the scriptures, right? It places you on a transcendental platform. So I'm going to give you an example of one of my mentees, right? Just about 2 weeks ago, one of my mentees came to me and they were really distressed, right? So their friend was achieving something in their life, and my mentee became very envious of her very close friend. And the reason why she was in so much distress about it was she was like, she's my best friend. I cannot believe that I feel envious of her, right? I'm so happy for her. You know, I want to be happy for her. She's moving forward in her life. I've always wanted this for her, but now she's getting it. It's really made me very envious, and I don't like it. It's burning me up. That feeling of envy is burning me up. Please, can you help me clear it? So I had recently been reading the Dhruva Maharaj pastime from Canto 4. So after reading that, there was a lot of things that came to me. So I said to her, look, go away and try to read this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. So she was reading verse by verse every day, really trying to go into the words and fully understand what was being said. And she came to me just a few days later and she was like, this is phenomenal. Like, what I've read is so phenomenal that it has changed my heart completely, right? She found that just from reading the Dhruva Maharaj pastime, there were so many lessons that she learned. She learned that one shouldn't she didn't just learn it in theory, she actually learned it like Vigyan. So you've got knowledge, which is Gyan, and then you've got Vigyan. Vigyan is realized knowledge, when you've experienced it and you truly realize it. And she said that, you know, I've learned that I shouldn't wish ill fortune to others. Genuinely, I feel that I shouldn't wish ill fortune to others, especially not my friends. She learned about the importance of being determined, and you can be successful in your ventures, and that you do not need to compare yourself to others, right? So I don't know if you're all familiar with the Dhruva Maharaj pastime, but the reason why Dhruva Maharaj became so morose is because he wasn't allowed to sit on his father's lap. And he was burnt by the fact that his brother was allowed to sit on his dad's lap, but he wasn't, right? So he was comparing himself, that what is it in this boy that is special that I'm not allowed to, we're both his children. So through this pastime, you learn how not to, not to compare yourself from others, because each individual has their own, so Shri Upanishad says that we're all born with our own package, right? So when we're born, it's like we're given a puzzle. This is your karma. This is your how much food you're going to get in your lifetime. This is how much wealth you're going to get. This is the kind of partner you're going to get. It's like that package comes with us. Why? Because it's our karma, right? So we can't compare ourselves to our neighbor because they've got a separate package to us. So everybody has a different package. Even our material intelligence levels are different from each other, and we're born with that due to our previous karma. So she learned also that the Lord is merciful if we worship him with deep devotion. He can grant things, the most unique things, right? He gives, the Lord gives his own planet, right? He gives his own Vaikuntha Lok to Dhruva Maharaj to live in, and even names it after him. So it's called Dhruva Lok, the North Star, right? We learn how the Lord deals with the suffering that's caused us by others, and how the Lord punishes them as well. So we hear about Suruchi and his brother Uttaman, how the Lord actually, punishes them for mistreating Dhruva. We learn how it doesn't matter what age you are at, you can still achieve outstanding things, and how at times the guru may test us. So a guru might be a senior devotee, it might be your actual guru, it might be your parents. We'll be tested by them in order to make us more determined to do what we want to do in our service, right? So now, this is very generic that I've just said to you. You have to actually go away and read the pastime in order to fully understand this, right? So who wouldn't want to read and study such glorious scriptures that would give you an answer to things? So she came to me with this deep envy, and within 2 days that envy went away, right? Not just went away superficially. She didn't just change her mindset. It got changed from the core of her heart. That pastime uprooted the envy from deep inside her heart, from being envious and wanting to take away the things of her friends, to a point where she was like, I'm so happy for her, and I wish well for her, and I want her to move forward sincerely, not with a fake smile, and with it. How? Through the scripture. Now, if she had tried to deal with that envy in a material way on the same material platform, it may have taken her weeks, months, even years, even a lifetime to get over the fact that her friend was in this position, right? But the scripture did it in 2 days, right? That's how powerful it is. So, right, and then the scripture also says this, right? So if we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 18, it says, Nashte prashu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhakti bhavati nashtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam or any types of Bhagavad Gita, or, variety of scriptures, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So the scripture itself is telling us that by regular attendance, a regular hearing of classes about the Lord destroys all that is troublesome to the heart, right? So all these conflicts that you've got, all these conflicts that are really dragging you down, preventing you from moving forward, are like big fat packages, it's like you're holding baggage with you as you're trying to move forward, right? But by studying scripture, it helps you shift the load, right? The load goes away and it makes you lighter, and you can sprint in the path that you're on. Just see how I'm doing for time. Sorry, I realized that time is moving on quite quickly. So the scripture says that, right? And then we've got Sutta Prabhu's book, where he gives many reasons as to why these stories are so powerful, right? They're applicable, they're personal, they're emotional, they're digestible, and they're memorable, right? So I'm happy to send the slideshow out afterwards, so you can have a read. But this is in his book, Book Bhagavata. This is on Canto 3, this particular section is. So let me just read one particular thing, right? What is applicable, right? So the stories offer great context and understanding because they personalize a message and make us feel part of the situation. They offer opportunities to extract life lessons and demonstrate how wisdom plays out in a practical way. Okay, and then it says here about memory. It says, research shows that stories are remembered 20 times more than facts alone. We live in times of mass distraction and people's attention spans have been obliterated. Thus, stories help to communicate things in an effective and efficient way. And due to my mentee, I was able to reread that pastime with a different vision. And I myself felt like I went a lot deeper into that pastime because I could try and relate it to her situation. And it doesn't happen artificially. You're not just trying to artificially do it. It actually comes from the heart. So this is just a summary. So it's applicable. It offers life lessons. It demonstrates application of the knowledge. It's personal. It tells it we can relate to it in our own experiences. It's emotional, like it helps on an emotional level because it penetrates beyond the intellect, the material intellect, and touches us on a deeper emotional level. So not our material emotions, we're talking about on a transcendental emotional level, right? It's digestible. It makes complicated things easier to understand, and it helps us to circumvent our pride. It's memorable. It grabs our attention and stays within our heart and our mind, right? So it's important to be a good listener. So listen to classes. So here's like an example, right? You've got a problem with envy, you read the Dhruva pastime. Anger, the Shiva and Dakshila pastime. Bhishma Dev gives really nice lessons. At the time he's leaving his body on the battle of Kurukshetra, he's pierced with these thousands of arrows. He gives such an important lesson. There's one lesson he gives. He gives many, but one of the lessons is like, why do we argue? Why do people have false arguments, right? And he says, false arguments happen due to not knowing the full story, right? Hasn't that happened sometimes? You've got angry, you've had arguments, and then you've had a mediation where you sat together and you've talked it through and you've realized that you got the wrong end of the stick, or you didn't have the full picture of the story, which actually has caused you to have this anger and feeling of upset. Where are these lessons in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Yeah, sure, I can let you know that. So these envy and anger are both from Canto 4, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhishma Dev's pastime is in Canto 1. But if you do have Sutta Prabhu's book Bhagavata, there are actually there's a page or 2 pages in each part of the canto that actually talks about the lessons from that pastime. So you could just try and flick through and find out. Although Bhagavatam should be read properly from beginning to end, but because his book, I put it here, it's like a summary. It's like a summary of the Bhagavatam, maybe that in times of difficulty, you can delve into the particular issue that you might be having to help you with that. So Bhishma Dev says that false arguments happen from not knowing the full story. That alone can make you very conscious during a time when you are in an argument with someone. You can stop it there in the track and thinking, do I know the full story? I think I know the full story. Do I know it really? Let me try and find out the full story before I go get really upset or angry or about this thing, right? So how to see reversals, how do we see bad things, how to take bad things that happen to us. Queen Kunti, lust, Bilva Mangathakur, sinful habits, Ajamil, parental issues, Prahlad Maharaj. Who has as bad issues as Prahlad Maharaj did? Like Buddha Bharata Prabhu says this a lot. He's like, the first written case of child abuse was Prahlad Maharaj from his father, right? So you got management of projects, how to manage projects. Brahma manages the entire universe. And because we see him as someone so great, we may think that it's just so easy for him. He goes through so many trouble at every point of creation, right? But he doesn't just give up, he battles through. And he doesn't battle through on his own. He always goes to the Lord, he meditates. He goes deep into himself, goes deep into meditation. He goes to the Lord, he asks for help always. And immediately that problem comes. The example of Varahadev, right? The earth falls into the ocean, and Brahma's like, what am I going to do? Rather than jumping and trying to catch the earth, he immediately thinks, what am I going to do? He contemplates and he thinks of the Lord. Immediately the Lord appears as Varahadev to help the earth out. So why would Brahma want to deal with this big problem by himself when the Lord is there, right? Radhanath Maharaj says always, he says this point, he's like, if you're feeling like you're having trouble or you're having problems in life, that's because you've made it your own problem, right? Who is the supreme controller? The supreme Lord. If you said to the Lord, my Lord, I have these problems, I dedicate them here to your lotus feet. It's your problem. Please, you take care of it. I don't have the strength to do it. Do you think he won't do it? He will. He'll sort it out for you. I've seen it time and time again, right? And this is what surrender is. Surrender is trusting the Lord to look after us, right? Just something in the chat. Yeah, do send your questions through. If you're getting any questions that are coming up, please do send them through. We'll address them at the end. So project management is Brahma. So there's an endless amount of lists, right? So sometimes we might take on services because of FOMO, right? So I'm trying to get in with these you guys youngsters and your lingo that you use nowadays. So this FOMO, fear of missing out, which I've just come across over the last 2 months. I see it written everywhere. And I'm like, what is this FOMO business, right? So FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Are you taking on services because you think you're missing out, right? Are you doing it because your friends are all doing it? You may not necessarily be interested, but you're just doing it because you just want to be part of the crowd. If you want to have a FOMO, have it about this, right? You are missing out on so much nectar and so many things that can help us with our day-to-day life in scripture, right? So pick up a book, read it, read little and often, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. Right? It took a long time to build Rome, right? Pick up a book, read a verse, think about it, pray on it, really let it go into your heart for the rest of the day, yeah, and try to put it into practice every day. You have a meal every day, right? You wake up, you have breakfast every day, lunch every day to keep you going. So you read the scripture in the morning before you leave, before you go out to work or whatever your daily activities are. Pick up a book and read and pray and say, may the Lord, may this go deep into my heart. Okay. So, sorry, I went on a bit too much on that bit. Okay, so, but you may say, okay, look, I'm going through these troubles. I don't have that much time right now. I'm currently suffering from something. I'm not familiar with the scriptures or where to go to find this information. I want to start seeing things through the vision of the scriptures. So what should I do? So approach a senior, right? Why? Why do you approach a senior? Nectar of Instruction, verse 4, talks about one of the loving exchanges is actually to reveal your mind in confidence, right? So the fact that you guys have already today revealed your mind, you've revealed your inner conflict. I'm sure you feel so much lighter in itself, just having it heard, just hearing it out loud from somebody else, right? It hopefully has lightened the load already, right? And hearing it, there'll be multiple of you that actually have the same conflict. So you realize that you're not actually alone in this conflict that you've got in your heart. There's those people who have a similar difficulty in going deeper, right? So speaking about revealing your mind in confidence, speak about your different conflicts with the senior devotees, and they are useful because they've already read the scriptures. They already understand. They can point you in the right direction and they can give you guidance based on the scripture, right? So our mentors in our movement, like the mentorship system in Vrindavani, is absolutely amazing, right? You have all these dedicated individuals out there to listen to you, to help you and guide you in your spiritual life. They can give you the answers straight away, and then you can go away and guide you in which scripture to read, which page to read, right? So that goes in line with the principle of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. If you're going through something, speak to a sadhu about it, a sadhvi, right? You've got all these senior wonderful Vaishnavis in our movement. Speak to them about it. They will point you in the direction of Shastra, right? And Guru will be there also. So these three things, you may get messages from these three individuals, from your Vaishnavi friends, from Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. And when these three things are aligned, you'll know that the Lord is trying to give you a message. Okay. So these will help align our thoughts and scripture, and it will allow us to make better decisions and progress in our lives and go deeper into our spiritual lives. So whatever obstacles you have, whatever conflicts you have, you can push through those. It may not happen in a day. It may take, it may take a week or a month. But the thing is, you're still making progress. You're moving forward, right? So sometimes we actually cause our own self to suffer because we take shelter of our own minds, right? Why do we give such importance to our mind, right? Our basic philosophy of spiritual life is we are not this body, and that includes the mind. We are not the mind. The mind is a material element. It's subtle, but it's a material. So your mind, intelligence, and false ego, these are subtle. They are also your body, right? So when we talk about we are not this body, so I'm not this body, I am not my thoughts. Yeah, I'm not my material thoughts. And these scriptures will help lift you from that. I was giving an example, right? So, you know, we always take, I'm sure, you know, here, we always take shelter of paracetamol at least once a month. You know, when that special time comes, we're like, oh, I know I'm going to suffer for today. I'm just going to take the paracetamol in advance before the pain starts, right? So we know that by having that paracetamol, it can protect us from that pain, right? So in the same way, why would we want to suffer in our life and go through the things and experience it very deeply in a very negative way when we have something that is like a painkiller that will stop us from having the pain in the first place? And what is that? Scripture, right? So I'm not speaking in theory, I'm speaking in sincerely from my heart, because I've actually experienced it through so many things, so many reversals we go through in our life. The scriptures give us so much strength in so many different situations. It helps our spiritual intelligence, it helps our heart, and it really, really uproots all of those very difficult issues that we have in our heart, right? So let's take it like a vaccination, right? Who wouldn't like a coronavirus injection so we don't get the coronavirus in the first place, right? To protect us from the suffering. So in the same way, reading scripture, chanting, revealing our mind in confidence, all these things help facilitate for us to go deeper, which is like a vaccination for our suffering, right? So how do we don't want to just be free from suffering, we also want to do things for a high level, right? So our ultimate goal in our life should be to please Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna, right? So go about and understand what really pleases him. Why are you doing this service, right? Are you doing it to please Prabhupada? Think about it. If you're not, just think, okay, yeah, I want to please Prabhupada. Why? He gave me the knowledge, he gave me the ability to be in this movement, right? What pleases him? So ISKCON has got a constitution, right? It's got many purposes. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through the first one. Prabhupada's first goal of why he created ISKCON, he set up ISKCON, was like, he wanted everyone to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and achieve real unity and peace in the world, right? So his peace formula is to propagate spiritual knowledge. So you may be taking part in many projects and many services in order to facilitate other people getting that spiritual knowledge, but how can you give that knowledge to anybody else if you yourself don't have it? If you're drowning in the ocean, how are you supposed to go and save somebody else who's drowning? Okay, so there's all of these. Familiarize yourself with the purposes of ISKCON. Know your why, have an intent, know the reason why you're doing what you're doing, and you'll find automatically you can go deeper. Okay, so just a few like concluding points. Reveal your mind in confidence. Get together with other friends and chant and read with them. Like, you may not have the commitment and the kind of strength to do it yourself. Get a buddy, match up with somebody. We've got so many opportunities in our movement to do that, right? You know, chanting and reading together will automatically deepen your relationships with other Vaishnavis, right? Let's be real. Vaishnavis have a real problem with getting along with each other, right? Sometimes it's easier for us to get on with the opposite sex than it is with each other. When you're reading and studying together, that problem will just go out the window, because you'll be relating with each other on a transcendental level, right? Whatever your emotions are, whatever your issues are, whatever your insecurities are, they will slowly go away when you're studying together, because you'll be connecting soul to soul, right? Not soul, mind and body, soul to soul. You'll be connecting with each other. Your hindrances will be destroyed, any clashes of the ego that you got, not seeing eye to eye with others, and you'll start having nourishing and uplifting relationships, right? You'll remove any identificational tendencies that you may have with the service titles that you may have. So you may find, okay, you know what, I'm doing all these services and I'm enjoying it greatly. I'm worried that I'm starting to get a bit, you know, what's the word? It's kind of getting to me, like I'm starting to feel a bit prideful. That will all go away as well. So by doing all these things, you'll get empowerment. So we don't want to achieve things from a small torchlight in a dark room when we have the power of the sun. Okay, we've got these wonderful scriptures that have been given to us. Vyasadeva says in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he is like the Bhagavatam is like the sunlight of the entire world, which takes everybody out of the darkness that they're in. So we spoke about Chakshu, seeing through things through the eyes of spiritual knowledge, right? So what do? Cultivate a desire to study the scriptures, and practical spiritual realization. Analyze how the teachings of the scriptures are relevant to you in the modern world. You know what? We don't even have to do that, because Sudhava Prabhu has done that already for us. He's done a lot of the work already in the book Bhagavatam. All you have to do is pick it up and read it. You don't have to read a pastime and try to understand, oh, what does this mean? What is it telling me? He said it very clearly in his book. So please read that alongside whatever scripture you're reading, whether it be Nectar Instruction, Nectar Devotion, you know, the little books Prabhupada has, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Read it in alongside it. Know what the essential message and philosophy of the scriptures is. Systematically study and remember the content that you're studying. That's really easy to do with your friends when you have a discussion, right? When you get together, you won't be talking to each other like, yeah, hey, how was your day? It'd be like, oh my God, do you know what I read? I read that there's more than one Brahma. There's Brahmas with 1,000 heads. How can you have 1,000 heads? But you have these kind of discussions rather than the normal discussions which you may find yourself having at the moment. Use the teachings as a guide in your own lives and see through the eyes of scripture. Conflicts may still arise in your life. It's not saying the conflicts won't be there, they'll arise. But you will see them in a new light and deal with them in such a grounded and unique way, you will actually surprise yourself. This is what liberation is. Liberation means to be unaffected by your material problems. You don't have to get liberation when you leave your body. You can be liberated living here on the material world, right? You have to be on a transcendental platform. So in conclusion, try and make spiritual life a commitment. Go a little bit more deeper. Try not to compare yourself with others, right? It's something that it does come up quite a lot, that, you know, my friends are doing this, they're trying 16 rounds, I can't even get 1 round done. That's their journey, you are on your journey. They may have been a devotee for 3 or 4 lifetimes and they're carrying on from where they left off. You may have just started your spiritual journey, right? That's the same with a skill set, right? So don't compare yourself to others. Krishna sees what everybody does. During the Ramayana, the squirrel was picking up tiny little pebbles and making it part of the bridge when they were building the bridge for Lanka. Lord Ram didn't say, hey, move to the side, what you're doing is so little and these monkeys are lifting these huge boulders. He accepted that endeavor from that squirrel because that pebble that he was picking up was as equally as heavy from him as the boulders were, right? So it's your personal endeavor, it's your journey, right? Not anybody else's, it's your journey, right? Maybe get out of your comfort zone, go the extra mile, definitely read regularly and chant with attention, right? Pair up with like-minded friends and grow together, right? So you may not have a sangha that you're part of at the moment. Start one up. Ask one of your senior girls, okay, listen, we want to get together, we want to study this book, right? But we're not familiar with it. Please, can you guide us through it? Start up a sangha, right? Grow together. You may find many excuses to not do it, right? Just make it happen, especially when you're feeling determined and excited, make it happen then, okay? Right, so this is just one thing I wanted to end on, right? So who doesn't like pizza here? I'm sure everybody likes pizza, right? Even if you're vegan, let's say this is a vegan pizza. So who doesn't like pizza? I'm sure we all like pizza. There may be those who don't, but generally, so imagine what it is, an item that you really enjoy, be it a cake or be whatever. But I'm using pizza because pizza is my favorite food, right? So imagine you got this beautiful pizza, right? And you're offering it, like someone's bought you this pizza and you've given it, right? And I'm saying to you, here, have this pizza, right? But you come along and you just take an olive off. You're like, I'll just take an olive. Thank you very much. You'll eat that olive. You're like, thanks. I will look at you like you're completely crazy. I'll be like, what the hell? I've offered you this wonderful pizza and you're just going to take an olive and you love pizza. What is wrong with you, right? So don't be the person who gets offered a delicious pizza but only takes a single olive off to eat it and leaves the rest, okay? So I hope you get this. It means don't just take a tiny bit of this spiritual practice we do and just take the tiniest thing off and leave the main meal behind, right? Spiritual life is so vast, it's so amazing, and it's so transformative in your own journey, right? That why would you just leave it? Why would you just pick off a tiny piece and be satisfied with that when the whole thing is available to you, right? This person may think, I'm not worth any more, so I'm just going to take this tiny piece off. No, you are worth it. It's being given to you. Krishna has allowed you to be part of his movement, right? Prabhupada has said, you be in my movement, you chant 16 rounds, try and chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regs, do services for me, and I have got the backdoor key. I will help you go back to the spiritual world, right? So I'm just saying, wherever you're at, if you're not chanting, try to chant 1 round a day. If you're chanting 1, chant 2. Just you look at yourself and think, I'm going to go deeper from now on. Okay, so I'm going to end there. I feel like I've spoken a lot. So I'm happy to take any questions that there are that come through for anything. Please forgive me if I may have said anything overly strong to you, or anything that may have hurt. My intention was just to, you know, really, like I've been helped over the years to go through this journey and go that much more deeper. I would like to encourage all of you to go that much more deeper, because you're wonderful souls. You've come to this wonderful movement, which is such a rare thing. It's not a cheap thing, right? Your friends may take the mick out of you because you're following this, but they will respect you because you're doing something which means a lot to you, right? I came from a very mixed background. In the beginning, I didn't flash what I was doing in their faces. I did it very privately. But over time, when they realized what I was doing and how much depth they've seen me, how much they've seen me be a better person, they've actually been like, wow, we want a piece of this pizza too, right? So sometimes it's our own thing. We think we won't be accepted and loved by others, right? But the Lord is accepting you. He will give you the friends that you need, the genuine and sincere friends that you need around you in order to help you grow in the journey. Let's see, is there any questions? Okay. Does it not sometimes seem that advancing with Casey is only possible with the privilege of time and lack of stress? It seems hugely conflicting to have so many immediate pressing responsibilities and still somehow having the headspace to advance in Krishna consciousness takes a lot of mental energy. It almost seems like extra stress and the guilt if I don't engage as much as I do spiritually. Okay, how to find that? Okay, that's the internal conflict, right? So you've got so many things to do, right? So many, you're stressed out already, you've got so much on your plate. How can you add Krishna consciousness into it? That's a really good question. The advice that I've always been given and I've always applied to what advice that I've been given over the years is that actually, and what I've experienced as well, practicing spiritual life extends your day, right? I don't know if any of you, if you've ever been to Mangalarti before, right? You go to Mangalarti and you chant around in the morning, you feel like you have 48 hours in a 24-hour day, right? You can sometimes achieve things that you could do in a whole week in one day. Why? Because Krishna is the controller of time, right? When we're on a material platform, time is guiding us, right? When we're on a spiritual platform, time cannot touch us. Time is absent in the spiritual world, right? When we're practicing spiritual life, we are in the spiritual world. So time doesn't have an effect on us. You make Krishna a priority and he gives you all the resources that you need. Time is a lack of resource, right? Why do we get stressed? Because of a lack of resources, right? Make Krishna your priority. Do an experiment. You don't have to believe me. For 1 week, wake up a little bit earlier, chant your rounds in the morning, be it 1, be it 2, however many. Pick up a scripture, read 1 verse, right? And you tell me that you don't feel less stressed as the week goes on. Just try it. Give it an experiment. I've physically seen it happen. Okay. So that's all I was going to say. It gives you the headspace to advance in KC because you're not waking up to this hectic thing that I've got to do this. You take time out, you wake up a little bit earlier than everyone else, whether it be 15 minutes, whether it be half an hour. You take that time out, you dedicate that time for the Lord, and then the Lord will sort your whole day out. Okay, you try it. It's a really good question. That was something that we all struggle with. How do you get rid of the toxic comparison between friends, especially if we all start at the same time from the same friend group? So I'm assuming you're talking about your spiritual, in your spiritual circle and as your friends. So generally that does happen because of lack of maturity, that, you know, you're in the friends of like, oh, like, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, look at what I'm doing. It does. It sometimes on a level of, it's like when you're very new to Krishna consciousness, it may come up. But you'll find as you get older and you develop in your own sadhana, that one, you'll become tolerant of these comparisons between friends because we don't care, right? If somebody else thinks that we're not progressing in our spiritual life, they don't think we're good enough, let them think that. That's their own issue. Your relationship is between you and the Lord, nobody else. Yeah, it's between you and the Lord and Srila Prabhupada, right? So if they're having these toxic relationships, thinking, you're doing better than that, so that person not doing great. Try and distance yourself from that conversation. It doesn't apply to you, right? You try to go deeper in your own spiritual life. Okay. You may have started all at the same time from the same friend group, but you don't know what your previous journey was, right? I've got a son who's 11 years old. I feel like I'm the one who taught him to walk. I'm the one who taught him to talk. I'm the one who taught him how to chant. I'm the one who taught him to clean himself in the bathroom. He's more advanced than me spiritually. He's my son, right? And my Guru Maharaj even said to him, he said, like, listen, this Vrindavani, she's useless in her spiritual life. You have to be the one that guides her. Because he gets up in the morning, he's regulated every day. And my Guru Maharaj recognized that. He's like, you are responsible for this family sadhana. So he is more advanced than we are. He's so consistent in everything that he does. Now I could say, hang on, I've been around for so long in this movement. I've been born way before him. I'm his mother. I'm in a position of authority. How is he telling me what to do? Because he's on a different journey, completely different journey, right? He may have been a devotee in many of his previous lives. I may have come from the hellish planets. I'm very lucky to be even in devotional life. So you cannot compare. It's not a like for like comparison between everyone who joins Krishna consciousness at the same time, because you don't know what each other's journeys are. And that is seeing things with the eyes of scripture. Because there's so many examples in there where we see young people taking off further than even those people who are older and being practicing spiritual life for a long time. So there's that. I hope that helps.
Vrindavani, I've got one question here that's been sent to us.
Yep, sure.
I'm just going to read it out. So, it can get very difficult during the moment of the problem occurring to accept that we are not in control and that we have to surrender. How do we deal with this?
Sorry, can you read that again?
Yeah. It can get very difficult during the moment of the problem occurring to accept that we are not in control and that we have to surrender. How do we deal with this?
Yeah, so it's quite difficult to check yourself at the time when you're in that emotion, if I fully understood the question, that is. But what you can do is by reflecting, but especially when it comes to anger and stuff like that, sometimes it just takes of just walking away from the situation, breathing, going out for a walk, and then just reflecting before reacting on the situation. If it's not anger, if it's other things, sometimes you may still act in your normal conditioned way. But the difference is you may go away and reflect on it and think, hang on, that wasn't right what I did. I shouldn't have behaved like that, or I could have dealt with it in a better way. And then go back and revisit the situation, revisit the people. This is where humility comes from. You may go to them and say, look, listen, I wasn't in a good place. I didn't act in the correct way. I'm sorry, right? So in the beginning, you'll find yourself, like, once you start reading scripture regularly, you may still be in those same scenarios, but in certain circumstances, you go away and reflect and be like, okay, that was wrong. Next time I'll try and act differently. And as you grow spiritually, you'll be able to check yourself at that time. Why? Because you've included Krishna. Krishna will be like in your super soul, like he'll be telling you, like, stop right there, stop. Just put a full stop on this, and let's come back and deal with it later on. Right? He'll give you that intelligence to be able to do that. So I hope that helps with that question. I hope it addressed it. Okay. Just another question. I was wondering, sometimes we have these phases where we are so passionate about the Krishna consciousness movement, then other days we aren't as into it. How can we always stay passionate and positive about KC, especially in quarantine? Yeah, so that's a good question. Also, like, all the questions are great. This one particularly is that, yeah, so what we may see, like our emotions, like you may feel like it's cyclical, right? So you think, oh, I'm passionate, and then you've got to take a real hit, and then you're passionate, and then you take a real hit. But what's great about spiritual life is that actually we don't have a slump, right? It seems like a slump to us, is that we are constantly going like this. We're actually growing, it's still going up. We never ever slump, because whatever we've gained in our spiritual life, remember, it never goes away. It stays where it is. So in actual fact, we're just pushing up. So I've asked Jane Prabhu this question loads, and Sadhguru Krishna as well. So Sadhguru Krishna is the one who cultivated me alongside many others and brought me into Krishna consciousness. So I'm very grateful to him and many others of my seniors. So they would say to me, it's like when a plane takes off, right? So you have to, there's times that you've got so much kind of passion, and you're like taking off from the ground. You've got this real, the jets are like going, and you reach a point and then you plateau, right? So then it may feel like, oh, I'm plateaued, and that's where you may feel like in your comfort zone. You may not feel passionate about going even higher into the atmosphere. So it's like that. So you're still making progress. You're not falling down from that position, but there will be times when we're not passionate. It could be we're being tested. We may not be, our sadhana may not be great. So we may be, you know, what's the difference between when you were passionate? Were you getting up earlier? Did you have good association? Are you free from committing offenses? Then you might be committing offenses and doing all of that sort of thing. So we may not feel as inspired. So the way in which you can help is like same, reading every day. You read in the morning, it's fresh, the fresh injection. Charge your soul up first thing in the morning, right? Charge that up to the source, to the electrical source, which is the Supreme Lord. And he'll keep you motivated always. And if we still feel like we're not so motivated, it's a test. Krishna's like, do you really, really want this? And you're like, yeah, I really want this. He's like, are you sure you really want this? And he just wants you to have a bit more oomph to get there. Pray to him. Prayer is always a great thing. Pray for that passion, pray for that oomph and that urge to get there, because we don't have very long, right? We're going to live, what, 70, 80 years max. It's not a lot of time. Prahlad Maharaj says that we spend, he breaks down the lifetime. I don't know the exact breakdown, but my son was telling me, he's like, do you know we spend this much of our lifetime just sleeping, right? So how many years do we actually have left doing pure spiritual life, right, if we add in everything else? So yeah, we want to keep our foot on the gas and the pedal, but do it sustainably. Don't go from like 1 to 16 in one day. You've got to do it gradually, step by step, and then go deeper each time. Grow those roots, yeah? Grow those roots, otherwise that tree will fall down, okay? So I hope that addresses that question as well. So you can stay passionate by your association. So the 5 things: good association, regular reading, daily early morning chanting. Early morning for you might be 7, early morning for you might be 8, right? Prabhupada recommended 4 o'clock. See what's doable for you. Your challenge is to wake up 15 minutes, half an hour earlier than you currently are, right? And listen to classes. There's so much content that's out there on YouTube and things like that. We're so lucky we've got access to so much information at the moment. Back in my day, my friend used to like burn stuff on like MP3. I used to have to wait for him to burn this stuff on MP3 for me to be able to have access to a Kirtan or a class. And you've got it here at the touch of a button. So we're actually really fortunate. So I hope that helps. Any more questions? I'm so sorry I've gone over time. I was thinking I was going to struggle to talk for half an hour, and I've spoken a lot. So yeah, so any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I think I'll stop talking.
Okay, I think we'll stop there.